Hello, Leadership Council, and welcome to the Leadership Class of 2020's Ideas and Trends presentation. Over the past 12 months, these individuals have embarked on a journey to learn a little bit more about me, artificial intelligence. Tonight, they have prepared a video compiling all their research to show you what I am all about. Enjoy.
The 2018 project focused on a developing technology that has the potential to have a greater impact on humanity, its organization, its culture, its future than almost any other since we split the atom. And that's artificial intelligence. AI will have an impact on almost every aspect of our lives. Perhaps not right now, although in fact that's exactly what's happening, but certainly in the future as we progress down the path that AI is opening for us. So, as with other years, this team took a deep dive into artificial intelligence to look at the implications near and further along the road and what their potential impacts are. Most people are familiar with the term of art called artificial intelligence, but they're really not familiar with what that means, what the parts are. Machine learning and deep learning are both aspects of artificial intelligence, for example. So I think the first place to begin is at the beginning. What's artificial intelligence?
So when you talk about the history of artificial intelligence, it's impossible not to talk about a man named Alan Turing, and what he was a British computer scientist. And he's often referred to as the grandfather of AI because he was one of the first scientists to really explore the option of learning technology and technology adapting to human thought. During his studies, he did a lot of things concerning this thing that came out to be known as the Turing test. The Turing test is an adaptation of a very popular parlor game that was played back in that day, where a player would be stood behind a wall, and on the opposite side of that wall would be a man and a woman. The player would ask the two people questions, which they would write down responses to and hand back to the player. The player would then try to guess which gender gave which answer to the question. Turing altered this in a way where he replaced one of the humans with a robot. And so his test for the efficiency of AI was to see if an AI could convince another human that it was a human. Now, no robot or technology has been able to pass this test since its creation, which is one of the reasons why he is such a crucial point in the development of AI, because it gives us a point to reach to. There's still a grant, a $100,000 grant that's going to be given to the first person to make a machine that can pass the Turing test. But as I said, there still hasn't been any sort of machine that's come close to that. But even though he passed a long time ago, that bar he set has been a really crucial point in pushing AI forward. Dartmouth Conference, which was a sort of assembly of individuals from all walks of the different scientific paths, headed by a man named John McCarthy. And what happened there was they were brought together in order to brainstorm basically the future of what AI could possibly be. A lot of different things happened here, but one of the things that's very credited for is bringing the term artificial intelligence into the mainstream and sort of having it be a household term. And they drew upon a lot of ancient mythos, such as Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, in terms of sort of quantifying what AI could be in the future. And it really began to bring AI away from a sci-fi fantasy trope and more into a goal for the future.
AI, it's a multi-phase technological advancement. So it started off as bringing stage one is known as purely reactive. So what that means is that you were able to program AI machines or bots to do one specific task. So say, the best example is play chess. They can be programmed to play chess, make moves when they see on the table, because their sole focus was on that chess game. But if you put any other game or task in front of them, they can't do it because they have one focus. And now we're in stage two, which is known as limited memory. So the last few years, the big discussion about AI and technology in general has been about driverless cars. And this is what stage two AI is. It's like in stage one, it was given, a background of information, a data set, and for example, a car, the data set would be GPS technology, landscape, where the curves, where the trees, things like that. But now, as these cars drive and connect to other cars, they can learn about the roads, about other cars, from their experiences, their limited memory, and from the data created by other cars. So it's kind of working upwards and the quality of technology. And stages 3 and 4, which we're not quite there yet, are very much the same. The point of stages 3 and 4 is to be able to have these machines interact with humans. So I would be able to talk to you even if I were a robot and carry on conversation no matter the topic. And stage 4 is where it gets really interesting. This is where you think of like movies like the Transformers, that kind of technology where these bots can sense the feelings of others, of human beings. Robots can sense the feelings of human beings and then continue a conversation with the other person in mind. So that's really human-like. They can read other people's facial expressions, tone of voice, and then base what they do off of that. So we're in stage 2 right now, but be on the lookout the next few years. It's going to advance quickly, and when it does, it's really going to change the world.
So it's very interesting to see how AI has developed from its early stages to now. And I think a common misconception is that, AI is kind of done developing, but in reality, there's so much more for it to do in terms of its development. Not only will it be able to determine X from Y, it'll be able to give humans insight into why X is better, why Y is better. So I think it's really intriguing to see how AI can kind of write its own code, fix its own algorithms, and ultimately take these big chunks of data and make decisions based on all that information for humans to use. So in one sense, it'll definitely be helping humans improve and make better decisions, which is really interesting. Now on the other side, something to note is that no longer will these just be encroaching some of the lower level jobs, the basic skill jobs. They'll actually be taking on some of the upper level management jobs, which is something very interesting to note. So we looked at a couple case studies where the AIs were better at making trades than some of the top financial analysts and making diagnoses more accurate than some of the top doctors. Now, with that in mind, it's going to end up taking a lot of jobs from people who, aren't really used to the idea of computers being entirely smarter than them. But that's just the way AI has been developing, where there's just so much data for them to look into that it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they're just so much quicker to make those decisions. So I think it'll ultimately fall on the humans to kind of adapt and rethink the way they look for jobs, make decisions in the business world, because ultimately AI is not going anywhere. If anything, AI is going to continue to grow more and more enhanced in what it can do and what it will do for humans. I think one thing that was really stuck out to myself and the rest of the team was how Facebook had some AI bots, and they actually were talking back and forth to each other after analyzing a lot of Skype video of humans, and they actually developed their own language within a few weeks, and Facebook shut it off. They didn't want that anymore. So that just shows the power of AI, where they can be so advanced that they can teach themselves their own language, which is something you don't see every day. AI is something very revolutionary, very disruptive, and it'll just continue to become more and more integrated into society. So that's where I see the development stage of AI coming in.
The impact of AI on healthcare will be truly profound. It will affect our ability to do diagnostics. Typically, Watson, IBM's Watson, has a success rate of about 94% when it comes to a diagnostic determination, where a human doctor is in the mid-80s. That already is having an impact on healthcare, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Artificial intelligence is replacing doctors' mundane jobs in the day-to-day so that doctors can focus more on the important aspects of their jobs. It's also helping with the development of new drugs and lowering the cost of developing new drugs. IBM Watson is developing a program that involves deep learning and data mining to accurately diagnose patients in a shorter amount of time. Recursion Pharmaceuticals, a research company, is taking a look at known drugs, bioactive compounds, and shelved pharma assets to identify new uses for it, with a goal of curing 100 diseases in 10 years. Stanford Medical Center is using virtual reality to help prepare medical students and reduce complications.
As important as healthcare is to our future, protecting our environment is even more important. The impact of AI on climate change will be remarkable in that it's going to provide us with the ability to analyze data and perhaps get good at projecting what the impact of climate change will be on the world that we live in.
When talking about such a disruptive technology like artificial intelligence, it's really hard not to talk about its impact on our environment. With the ability to access so much data in such a small amount of time, it could really improve our environment status. Now, the first thing I want to touch upon is driverless cars and artificial intelligence. These companies are saying with a more efficient way to get from point A to point B, we can really reduce our carbon footprint. That should be really important for the people in the United States because we contribute to about 33% of the annual global greenhouse emissions. In addition to that, artificial intelligence can help us with power efficiency and our use of power. Google is currently using their DeepMind machine to reduce the power needed for their data centers by about 40%. This technology might not be able to save our environment, but it will definitely help us preserve it.
Now let's take a look at how AI will affect the business community, something that's important to all of us. Artificial intelligence has the potential to significantly disrupt almost every aspect of every industry that we know today and that will develop in the future. The ability to get access by voice to information, answer a question, begin an investigation, think through a problem with a platform, an artificial intelligence platform that provides access to actually almost unlimited reams of data will be really remarkable. And that in turn will have an impact on what we call the future of work. We're already eliminating substantial numbers of jobs, traditional things that we've known and been comfortable with for years. That suggests that we will see the development of a whole different set of jobs, but of course that's an uncertainty that we can't really get our arms around quite yet. We'll just have to see how it develops over time.
AI has the potential to make businesses more profitable and efficient than ever before, and that's by maximizing efficiency and minimizing the human costs of business. For example, in Seattle, Amazon opened up its AI-powered Amazon Go supermarket, while in London, England, Man Group LLC is managing over $5 billion in assets. The financial world has sort of mixed feelings towards AI. Managers appreciate the high profitability and high efficiency of their portfolios, while traders are finding it difficult to see their role in an AI-powered financial sector. Going forward, roles in technology, specifically developers, programmers, and engineers, will see huge demand, especially in the areas of finance and other business roles. Unfortunately, it will have major negative impacts, specifically on low-skilled laborers. Bloomberg predicts that over 5 million jobs will be affected within the coming years.
So our responsibility is to find a way, as a culture, to address things like the ethics of quantum or the ethics of AI. But quantum computing is a step that will allow for the disruption of pretty much everything that we now take for granted. It completely wipes out the way we protect ourselves using encryption, as an example, which, as we know, is a really important part of everything we do online, because encryption protects our data when it's properly managed and implemented.
So with normal computing, you have either a 1 or a 0. With quantum computing, you can have that 1 or a 0 be what's called superimposed, which means the particles which are orbiting the nucleus are moving so fast that the 1 and the 0 become the same thing. This allows for much higher capacity computing. This relates to AI in the sense that it will have another tool in its arsenal of how to think and how to work with and solve problems. Because of quantum computing, an AI using it will be able to have so much more power when it comes to computing the problems that it's given, so it'll be able to work through harder problems. So the possibilities are almost endless.
Always with such a great and new technology, there's always threats that can occur if the wrong person ends up using this technology for the wrong reasons. So that's why the US National Security Administration is currently trying to come up with quantum-proof algorithms which will be able to defend against quantum computers from hacking the system. So the way it works right now is that the current algorithms are pretty much just math equations that can't be solved by normal or supercomputers.
But since quantum computers can calculate so many more equations in such a short time frame, they'd easily be able to hack into the current algorithms that we have. That's why we're currently trying to find quantum-proof coding and quantum-proof algorithms that'll be able to defend against quantum computers from hacking into the servers.
One of my students in one of my classes actually said toward the end of our discussions about artificial intelligence that, and I'm going to paraphrase, but that we have one chance to get this right, and if we blow it, we're in real trouble. I think the same thing goes for quantum. We really need to think about how we are going to manage the remarkable power that comes from both of these technologies.
As artificial intelligence develops, regulation is going to play a key part in keeping the technology safe. There really hasn't been too much regulation in the field of artificial intelligence, but that's probably because nothing catastrophic has happened yet. There have been instances where Facebook bots created their own language and communicated back and forth with each other. There have also been cases where self-driving cars have killed pedestrians, but a robot hasn't tried to take over the world yet. So as risks develop and are noticed, regulation should reduce those risks. It's kind of like a speed limit, right? On the roads, there weren't always speed limits because cars weren't dangerous. But then as cars became faster, more risks were recognized, and so regulation was put on to reduce those risks. Now, although regulation is designed to reduce risk, it can also hinder development. So that means like regulation and red tape can really limit the ways that companies can experiment and grow the technology. So it's really all about finding that balance between too much regulation and not enough, keeping it safe but yet letting it develop. And this balance won't be easy to find, because major business leaders have had differing opinions. Elon Musk, on one hand, thinks that artificial intelligence really has some powerful capabilities and is able to cause great risks, so he'd be more in favor of regulation.
However, I think if AI power is widely distributed, and there's not, say, one entity that has some super AI that is 1,000,000 times smarter than anything else. If instead AI power is broadly distributed, and to the degree that we can link AI power to each individual's will. So like you would have your AI agent, and everyone would have their sort of AI agent, and then if somebody did try to do something really terrible, well, then the collective will of others could overcome that bad actor.
But then Mark Zuckerberg, on the other hand, is more optimistic about the technology in general.
I'm really optimistic. Right? I'm an optimistic person in general. I think you can build things and the world gets better. But with AI especially, I'm really optimistic. And I think that people who are naysayers and kind of try to drum up these doomsday scenarios are I don't understand it. I think it's really negative, and in some ways I actually think it's pretty irresponsible.
So throughout this presentation, we've looked at how artificial intelligence emerged as a technology and how that emergence is going to affect and develop not just healthcare, the environment, and business, but a lot of aspects of your day-to-day life. And then we looked at how quantum will take those effects and magnify its effect and magnify its development in a way that we're not fully prepared to handle yet. And then we looked at how regulation will kind of put in check some of those impacts, or maybe we don't want to regulate because of how it could hinder development. We looked at Elon Musk and Zuckerberg on that. So now we want you to take a look at a day in the life on the possibilities of what your life could look like with AI.
As the world is getting more connected and technology opens up a wealth of options, life becomes more complex, yet very exciting. How can we simplify your life? Imagine connectivity making your daily life more comfortable by offering you just the right choices, no matter who decides. and by seamlessly teaming up with you and your family for the best results. Imagine technology helping you treat food with respect. Everything is kept fresh and with minimum waste, used to the maximum. Of course, it is prepared just the way you like it. With your loved ones healthy and happy, you contribute to a sustainable future for generations to come. Imagine connecting whenever and wherever you want, with important information always at hand. Creating more quality time with the people you love. Turn a car trip into a fun ride and cherish the truly precious moments in life. What if intuitive technology follows the way you work, collaborate, and share, making every process feel smooth and natural, and providing everything you need, right when and where you need it. And when everything in your world is connected, intelligent technology will understand and fulfill your needs in the blink of an eye. Your life drives our innovation with one simple goal: creating technology that truly assists you, keeps you informed, and serves you just the way you want. So you only need to care about what truly matters: your wishes and dreams for the future.